Alright, today we're going to learn about energy. What is energy? Clap your hands. Do this with as little energy as possible. Now clap your hands again. Do this with as much energy as possible. What difference is there between the two methods of clapping hands? Could you feel the energy? What is energy? Is it matter? Can you feel it? Can you see it? Can you hear it? Discuss. Energy is required to make things work or move. It exists in many forms. Energy is the ability to do work. These are the different forms of energy that you might encounter: kinetic energy, gravitational potential energy, elastic potential energy, chemical potential energy, electrical energy, sound energy, light energy, and heat energy. Look at the cars below. Car A has kinetic energy and car B does not. What is kinetic energy? It is the energy of motion, of movement. Look at the picture below. If the man is walking and a car speeds towards him, which would sustain the most damage? Discuss. What does this tell you about kinetic energy? Kinetic energy depends on mass and how fast the object is moving, so it depends on the mass of the object as well. When do you gain kinetic energy? When you speed up. When do you lose kinetic energy? When you slow down. I want you to discuss with your friends, how does this work? Next, we're going to talk about potential energy. Look at this battery. Is it being used? Does it mean that since it's not being used, it doesn't have any energy? Well, yes, it does have energy. It has potential energy. What is potential energy? Think of the word potential, which means capable of being but not yet in existence. It is energy that is stored in an object and can be used at a later time. Person A has more gravitational potential energy than person B. What is gravitational potential energy? It is energy stored in an object because of its location. Notice we use the word stored because of the word potential. Imagine releasing a watermelon from the top of your desk and a watermelon from the top of a building. What would the impact be? What does this tell you about gravitational potential energy? The higher something is, the more gravitational potential energy it has. Imagine releasing an orange from the top of a building and a watermelon from the top of a building. Which would have more impact? What does this tell you about gravitational potential energy? The more mass something has, the more gravitational potential energy it has. Gravitational potential energy is dependent on height, mass, and gravity. Imagine a ball falling from the top of a tree. Is it gaining gravitational potential energy or losing gravitational potential energy? It is losing gravitational potential energy. Imagine the ball has hit the ground and is now bouncing up. Is it gaining gravitational potential energy or losing gravitational potential energy? It is gaining gravitational potential energy. Apply what you have learned about gravitational potential energy to the generation of hydroelectricity. What would you do to generate the most amount of electricity? Next, elastic potential energy. A. Stretch a rubber band, release, and watch it fly. B. Stretch the rubber band even more, release, and watch it fly. Before you attempt these two experiments, please make sure that nobody is around, or an adult is present but nobody's in front of you and they won't get hurt by a rubber band. Alright. Which would fly further? This is due to elastic potential energy. Obviously, the one which is stretched even more would fly further. So this is due to elastic potential energy. What is elastic potential energy? It is the energy that is stored in an elastic object as a result of being stretched or compressed. When you release the rubber band after pulling it, is it gaining or losing elastic potential energy? It is losing elastic potential energy. Elastic potential energy. When you compress a spring, this is a spring, and when you compress it down, is it gaining or losing elastic potential energy? It is gaining elastic potential energy. When you release the spring, is it gaining or losing elastic potential energy? It is losing elastic potential energy. Give some examples of uses of springs in daily life. Next, chemical potential energy. The following items all have chemical potential energy. What is chemical potential energy? Chemical potential energy is the energy that is stored in fuels, food, and batteries. Which has more chemical potential energy, gasoline or charcoal? Which has more chemical potential energy, a bag of French fries or a carrot? Now if you look at this label, which you can find on most processed foods in supermarkets, they will tell you how many calories the food that this label represents has. Therefore, you can see that it has 200 calories, and this tells you how much chemical potential energy it has.